Radium Girls were a group of over 300 women who ingested large quantities of radium while working for a U.S. Radium Corporation in the 1920s. This corporation hired women to paint watch dials using radium, a radioactive element that can be detrimental to people's health with enough exposure. U.S. Radium cared little for their women workers and didn't take the right safety measures to make sure they were safe. After the word was spread about radium being dangerous, a handful of women fought to bring U.S. Radium down and change labor laws. The Radium Girls were a group of women that changed history for the better and almost died along the way. It all began when radium was first discovered in 1898 by Marie Curie, a famous scientist who discovered both radium and polonium. Radium was dubbed the miracle element because of its ability to treat cancer by killing tumor cells. This treatment method was called radium therapy. Radium therapy was essentially when radium gas was able to be injected into the body through glass tubes. This radium gas would then destroy the cancer cells but also obliterate perfectly healthy cells in the process. Radium therapy isn't used anymore for this reason. We now have alternatives to treating cancer like chemotherapy, cryotherapy, and radiotherapy. Several years after its creation, in the 1900s, undark, a luminous material made of radium started to be incorporated into chocolate, nightlights, toys, toothpaste, and cosmetics. The production of all these products is what started the radium craze. Kate Moore, the author of the book The Radium Girls, explained in an interview. Because it was successful, it somehow became an all-powerful health tonic, taken in the same way as we take vitamins today. People were fascinated with its power.
Radium is good for you. Everyone knows that.
In 1917, a corporation called United States Radium was founded by Dr. Simon Arnold von Sakaki. This corporation made it their goal to benefit off the popularity of radium and decided to make watches with radium inside of them. This corporation spread all across the United States, but there was one specific location in Orange County, New Jersey, that employed 5 specific women who would change the course of history. This location started hiring female workers in the early 1920s to paint watch dials using radium paint. Women specifically were hired for their small and delicate hands. This was a big deal in the 1920s because women didn't get offered many job opportunities. U.S. Radium probably hired women not for their delicate hands, but because they knew women would jump at an opportunity to have a job, regardless of the risk that would come with it. When starting the job, U.S. Radium specifically told their workers that they needed to point their radium-covered brushes with the tip of their lips for finer details. Anissa Ramirez records May Kane as she talks about the strange sensation she felt when putting radium-covered brushes in her mouth. She hated the grittiness of the paint in her mouth, which reminded her of the sand inadvertently swallowed when eating oysters. The Radium Girls were even told that they were allowed to apply radium to their body to make themselves glow. They would apply radium to their nails, teeth, and faces. In a variety of news articles, authors referred to the Radium Girls as the Ghost Girls, due to their glowy skin. While the Radium Girls were exposed to radium every day, the owners of U.S. Radium and all other scientists who worked there avoided contact with radium. For the next 2 years, women started falling ill. Dentists noticed that the women who worked for U.S. Radium had a variety of different teeth problems. Ulcers, loose teeth, and lesions are just a couple of the many examples dentists noticed. Teeth problems were the first to be noticed because the Radium Girls had their mouths being exposed to radium the most. As time went on, however, symptoms got worse and started to include anemia, bone fractures, and necrosis in the jaw. Many of the ladies at U.S. Radium chose to remain in their current positions despite being aware of their declining health because they didn't want to miss their opportunity at a job. Frances Bellata, a woman in Waterbury, was the first of many to die from radium exposure. Her jaw was deteriorating in these images. Controversy spread about radium and U.S. Radium Corporation as time went on. U.S. Radium denied many accusations, even claiming that those affected from radium just had syphilis. Many didn't buy the stories that U.S. Radium was telling. So, in order to distract the public for even longer, U.S. Radium conducted fake research to make it seem as if radium was harmless. It was 3 years later when researcher Harrison Martland confirmed that the Radium girls were being poisoned. Around 1927, 5 of the Radium girls, Grace Fryer, Edna Hussman, Catherine Schaub, and sisters Quinta MacDonald and Albina Laris all filed a lawsuit against U.S. Radium. They succeeded and won $10,000 each, along with $600 annually to cover for medical bills. The 5 women who stood up for themselves have affected both occupational labor laws and our knowledge on radium. The Radium girls are the reason that the occupational labor disease law is in place. This law means that people who get an illness by working a specific job have the right to file a suit. The occupational labor disease law has given people a sense of security at the workplace. Factories now are required to have the right safety equipment and take the right safety measures to make sure everyone employed for them is safe. Industries who don't follow this rule often have to pay the price. The story of the Radium girls is what really pointed society to stop using radium products as well. Radium is barely found in products anymore, meaning that no one will have to be exposed to radium the same way the Radium girls were. In order to make items glow now, we use phosphorescent chemicals, which are non-toxic. Over time, the Radium girls' stories began to spread through other forms of media. The Radium girls and their incredible stories have been featured in films, books, plays, articles, and even documentaries. In other words, the Radium girls have affected the frontiers of labor laws, radium usage, and media. Overall, the Radium girls were amazing women who had to endure the unthinkable. Whether U.S. Radium mistreated them for their lack of knowledge, the Radium girls' gender, or lack of care is debatable. But one thing we know for sure is that these women were remarkable fighters.